Hi everybody, Colin Ross here, Truckee Meadows Community College Music 101, lecture number 23. This is the beginning of our comprehensive review. We only have 2 weeks left, and I'm going to go back through almost everything that we have talked about. We're not going to introduce any new material, but we are going to review. So one of the things that I wanted to try and tie together for you today was the document that's goes with module 13, that's the Music Theory Basics document, and the notes for lecture 17, and our beginning concept of learning the notes and learning the major scale and how those all tie together. So, going back to the very beginning of the whole concept, we have identifying the notes on the keyboard. And we have learned that there's groups of 3 and groups of 2. And in between the group of 3, the middle and right-hand one is A. We can count up the white notes from A, B, C, D, E. I'm going to move this over now. Sorry. We can count up the white notes from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Back to A. Sharp is the next one up. Doesn't matter if it's black or white. A sharp, B sharp, which is the same as C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, which is the same as F. Flat's the next one down. A flat, G flat, F flat, which is the same as E flat, D flat, C. The way we make a major scale is we start on a note, and from the note we go. Whoops, sorry. And from the note we go. Get back to the part of the keyboard I want. We start on a note, and if it's a whole step, there's a one and only one note in between, and it doesn't matter if it's black or white. If it's a half step, there's no note in between, so we start on the note. We go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. Whoops, we'll take it down to a reasonable octave here. Starting on the note C, whole step, half step, whole, half. Or starting on D, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. We learned that every other one of the scale forms the diatonic triads. So if we're in the key of C, for instance, 1, 3, 5 is the 1 chord, 2, 4, 6 is the 2 chord, 3, 5, 7 is the 3 chord, 4, 6, 8, 5, 7, 9, 6, 7, back to 1. Those are the diatonic triads, that is, the triads that fall naturally within the key. We also noticed that we learned what a major triad was. It's a major third with a minor third on top. A minor triad is a minor third with a major third on top. We learned all the names of the intervals. We learned how to make the 7th chords, which is every other one of the scale for 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's a C major 7th, for instance. And I wanted to go back over the document on number 13 of the lectures. So for every scale, there are 7 diatonic triads: the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, the 6 chord, and the 7th chord. If we're only doing notes of the scale and we're only doing 3 note chords, triads, the 1 chord and the 4 chord and the 5 chord will be major in every single key. This is just, we're observing how it is. We're not forming it, we're just observing. Every other one of the scale starting on 1, 4, and 5 will give us major triads. Every other one of the scale starting on 2, 3, and 6 gives us a minor triad. And every other one of the scale starting on 7 gives us a diminished triad. Backing up just briefly, we learned all the names of the intervals. The first one is a half step, one note. Whole step, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, flat fifth or raised fourth, or tritone, that's the 3 names for the next interval. Perfect fifth, which is 1 to 5 of the scale. Minor sixth, which is also a raised fifth. In an augmented chord, it's a raised fifth, root third, raised fifth. In a flat sixth chord, it's flat sixth. So the sixth is a major sixth, Root to the flat 7 is a minor 7, root to 7 is a major 7, and root to 8 is an octave. So the intervals, once again, half step, whole step, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, then the one with 3 names, raised fourth, flat fifth or tritone, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, octave. And for the ones above an octave, it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, so to make a 7th chord, we take every other one of the scale for 4 notes, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and we discover that if you look at the different types of 7th chords, there's the 7th chord, minor 7th chord, a major 7th chord, a 7th chord, which is we call a dominant 7th chord, and a diminished 7th chord. So here we are forming these. So major 7th chord is every other one on the scale. I wonder why that's so blurry. Every other one on the scale. So we're going to start with this exercise where we go root, 3rd, 5th, octave. That's a major triad. If we go root, 3rd, minor 3rd, 5th, that's a minor triad. If we go root, minor 3rd, flat 5th, that's a diminished triad. If we go root, 4th, 5th, that's a suspended triad. If we go root, 3rd, raised 5th, that's an augmented triad. So here's the exercise to how we identify the basic 7th chords. We go root, 3rd, 5th, doubled octave, root, 3rd, 5th, double octave. We're in the key of C. That's a C triad with a doubled octave. If we go root, 3rd, 5th, major 7th, that's a C major 7, MAJ 7. This is all on the document number 13. Root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, that's a C7 chord. Root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7th, C7. Now I'm going to lower the 3rd, root, minor 3rd, 5th, flat 7, that's a C minor 7. Now I'm going to lower the 5th, root, minor 3rd, flat 5th, flat 7th, that's a minor 7, flat 5. Now I'm going to lower the 7th one more time, double 7th, is double flatted, 7, flat 7, double flat 7, root, minor 3rd, flat 5th, double flat 7th, that's a diminished 7th chord. Once again, here's the exercise again. Here's C with a doubled octave. Should make it so you can see it easily. Here's C major 7. I lowered the 7th. I'm going to lower the 7th again. This is C7 now. Flat 7th. C was a major 3rd, perfect 5th, and a flat 7th. That makes a dominant 7th chord, like what would be 5 of the scale. Here's a root. Now I'm going to lower the 3rd from here to here. Root, minor 3rd, 5th, flat 7th. That's a minor 7th chord, C minor 7. Here I'm now going to lower the 5th. Now it's a C minor 7 flat 5. Once again, C with a doubled octave. C major 7. I lowered the 7th. C7, I lowered the 7th again. Now I'm going to lower the 3rd. C minor 7. Now I'm going to lower the 5th. C minor 7 flat 5. Now I'm going to double lower the 7th. C diminished 7th. Let's do it in a different key. Here we are in D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 3, 5, 8. That's a D chord with a doubled octave. Now I'm going to lower the D to the 7th, major 7th. No, sorry. It's hard on a flat keyboard like this. So that's a D major 7. Now I'm going to lower the 7th again. D7. Now I'm going to lower the 3rd, D minor 7. Now I'm going to lower the 5th, D minor 7 flat 5. Now I'm going to double lower the 7th, D diminished 7. D, doubled octave, D major 7, D7, D minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5, D diminished 7. So the order of that little exercise is we go root third fifth octave, then we go root third fifth major seventh, and that's whatever the chord is, major seventh. Then we flat that seventh again, and we have root third fifth flat seventh, that's whatever it is, 7, in this case C7. Now I'm going to lower the third, that's C minor 7. Now I'm going to lower the fifth, minor 7 flat 5. Now I'm going to double lower the 7th, C diminished 7. So no matter what of those chords someone asked for in a musical chart or in a musical situation, if someone said, play me an E minor 7 flat 5. So you'd find E by going A, B, C, D, E. Then you go then you'd make the E scale. Here's the E scale, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I asked for E minor 7 flat 5. So E, E major 7, E7, E minor 7, E minor 7, flat 5. So first I did every root third fifth octave, root third fifth major 7th, root third fifth 7th, root minor third fifth 7th, root minor third flat 5th 7th, flat 7th. That's the minor 7 flat 5 that we asked for. E minor 7 flat 5. Root minor third flat 5th flat 7. So this is all on the document number 13, Music Theory Basics document. And we find that in any given key when it comes to 7th chords, just like we learned with triads, that the 1, 4, and 5 are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and 7 is diminished in triads, 3-note chords. In 4-note chords, in a given key, no matter what the key is, the 1 chord and the 4 chord are major 7th chords. The 2, 3, and 6 are minor 7th chords. The 5 is a dominant 7th chord. That's the only one that's a dominant 7th chord. And the 7 chord is a minor 7 flat 5. All right, so 1 is major, 1 is major 7th, 2 is minor 7th, 3 is minor 7th, 4 is major 7th, 5 is dominant, the 7 chord. G7 in the key of C. That's the standard cadence, the 5-1 cadence, authentic cadence, 5 to 1. Okay, and then the 6th chord is a minor 7th chord, and the 7th chord is a minor 7 flat 5. So that's all in document number 13. So also from the scales, we learned that we can derive the modes, and the modes are basically the same pattern of whole steps and half steps, but starting in a different place. So if we have the C scale, and we number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and but if we decide we're going to do the same set series of notes, but instead of calling C1, we're now going to call D1, and we'd have a different set of whole steps and half steps, but it's still the same notes as the C scale. So you can think of it as D Dorian is the same as playing in the key of C. Three is Phrygian. Which we typically think of as oftentimes as Spanish scales or bullfighter music, or some mariachi has a lot of Phrygian in it too. 4 is Mixolydian, is Lydian, which is used in jazz a lot. That's the raised 4. 5 is Mixolydian, often used in folk music. Mixolydian is the same as major, but with a flat 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. By the way, Dorian is very popular amongst the shredders. I forgot to mention that. All right, 6 to 6 is what we call minor, natural minor. That was the first mode we learned besides major. So the relative minor of C major is A minor, just like the relative Dorian is D Dorian, the relative Phrygian is E Phrygian, the relative Lydian is F Lydian, the relative Mixolydian is G, Mixolydian. They're all the same notes as a C scale. We got to Aeolian, which is minor. That's like going 6 to 6 of a major scale. So renaming 6 as 1. Natural minor. And 7 is Locrian, which we very seldom hear in Western music, but sometimes in Middle Eastern music, or as cliches in Hollywood for Middle Eastern music. That's the 7 modes. So for every key, and there's 12 keys, there are 7 triads and 7 major 7th chords. 7 7th chords. And there are 7 modes for each scale. So from those scales, you can derive the modes, the triads, and the 7th chords. In addition to, Violet, what was that about? So we did add 2 other chords to the chord vocabulary list, which are the augmented chord, which is a raised 5th, root, 3rd, raised 5th. And when it's spelled as an augmented, it's always going to have the 5th letter name away. So C, D, E, F, G. It's going to be G sharp, not A flat. That's an augmented chord. And a suspended triad is the root, the 4th, and the 5th. So those are the 5 triads and the 7th chords and the modes. This is the first part of our review, and I strongly suggest that you go back and look at the names of the intervals, and you can look that up in your textbook as well as in the lectures and the notes, and the 5 different kinds of triads and the 5 different kinds of 7th chords. All right. This is all to prepare you for your for your final exam next Monday. All right, good luck. Call me if you need to.